Okay, survival is a basic instinct, and we all have it. Well, I think. However, not all of us are lucky or skillful when it comes to survival. There are people who die, but there's also people who survive the impossible. So this is the top 10 people who survived the impossible, part 2. And be sure to click right over here if you guys want to see part 1, because part 1 was insane. So how's it going, you guys? I am Landon, and let's get right into this list. Starting off in at number 10, we have Beck Weathers. He survived the 1996 Mount Everest disaster. On May 10th, 1996, he was huddled up with 10 other climbers 26,000 feet above sea level. A blizzard approached the group, and their supplemental oxygen was fully depleted, and they struggled for each breath. Beck was worse off than the others because he had gone almost entirely blind, and then he was sent flying backwards by a huge gust of wind. While he was lying in the snow, most of the other climbers were escorted to safety. After spending 18 hours in sub-zero temperatures, he regained consciousness and stumbled back to camp. His face was badly disfigured and he lost both of his hands, but you know what? He did survive. Up next, in at number 9, we have Debbie Kiley. She was famously known for surviving a boating accident that happened in 1982 off the coast of North Carolina. Debbie and 4 others set out in a yacht from Maine to Florida. After high seas off the coast destroyed the boat, they were left adrift in shark-infested waters. Scary, I know. The 5 of them gathered an 11-foot Zodiac life raft and began to die. 2 of them drank seawater, becoming delusional. Some of them left the raft and they were eaten by sharks. The 3rd person died from infected wounds, and after 5 days with no food and water, Debbie and 1 other crew member were rescued by a passing Soviet cargo ship, and they survived. Coming into number 8 is Joe Simpson. In 1985, Joe Simpson and Simon Yates attempted to ascend the west face of Sula Grande, which is 6,344 meters in the Peruvian Andes. On the descent, Joe Simpson broke his leg, and during a storm, Simon Yates was forced to release the rope that connected them, which caused the badly injured Joe Simpson to drop 100 feet into the ice crevice. He ended up surviving that fall and spent 3 days crawling back to base camp. Number 7 takes us to Robert Evans. This man survived being hit by a car, then hours later, he also survived getting hit by a train. During the morning of September 2008, Robert Evans had a hit and run car accident, and while walking back from the hospital to his camp, he was struck by a train and knocked off a narrow railroad bridge into a creek. He survived the second accident just 7 hours after being hit by a car. I'm glad he survived, but I mean, come on. He needs to learn a lesson on pedestrian safety and how to look both ways. He also needs some common sense. Maybe the train knocks him into him. How about you don't walk on train tracks that is only intended for trains? Anatoly Bigorsky makes this list in at number 6. This is a man who survived a beam from a particle accelerator. On July 13, 1978, he was checking a malfunctioning piece of the equipment when a major accident occurred due to a faulty safety mechanism. Anatoly was struck in the head in the part through which the proton beam was running. The beam measured about 200,000 rads when it entered his skull and about 300,000 rads when it left his skull. His face swelled up, and over the next several days, his face started to peel off and burn bad. Part of his face was totally burned off. Also, his bone and brain tissues was burnt as well. It was believed that it only takes about 500 to 600 rats to kill a person, so he was ultimately sent to the hospital to die. However, he survived and completed his PhD. Number 5 brings us to Mauro Prosperi. This man survived 9 days in the Sahara Desert. Mauro was participating in the 1994 Marathon of the Sands in Morocco, and partway through 233 kilometers 6-day event, a sandstorm caused him to become lost. He ended up running in the wrong direction, and he ran several hundred kilometers into Algeria. After a day and a half, he ran out of food and water. He survived by drinking his own urine and eating bats and snakes. He had to do what he had to do. He, however, attempted to kill himself but failed. After 9 days alone in the desert, he was finally found and he was taken to the hospital. He ended up being 186 miles off the course, and he had lost about 30 to 40 pounds. Okay, so making this list, in at number 4, we're talking about Hugh Glass. He is best known for his survival story after being left for dead by his companions when he was mauled by a grizzly bear. His life was adapted into 2 feature films. You guys might have heard of it. It was a really good movie, Man in the Wilderness, but I'm talking about The Revenant as well. Hugh Glass was on a fur trapping expedition in Missouri when he was mauled by a grizzly bear that severely injured him. The expedition leader asked some men to stay back with Hugh until he died and then bury him. However, the men left while he was still alive, and they returned back to camp claiming that he died. Hugh crawled to the Missouri River, and then he made his way to Fort Fort Knox on a raft. Natives helped him along the way by sewing bearskin over his wounds. Flying into number 3, we have Lieutenant John McCain. On October 26, 1967, he was flying on a mission and his plane crashed during the Vietnam War, and he was captured and repeatedly tortured for nearly 5 years until he was released. When he arrived as a prisoner of war, he was put into a solitary confinement where he stayed for 2 years. He even declined an early release offer, saying that unless every other prisoner that came after him was released as well. So he ended up not leaving, but he survived. Sailing our way through this list, in at number 2, we have Stephen Callahan. In 1981, Stephen departed Newport, Rhode Island on a 6.5 meter sailboat that he designed and built himself. Then on January 29, 1982, still on his boating voyage, his boat was badly damaged by an unknown object during the night storm and became engulfed with water. He was unable to stay aboard the boat and he escaped into a 6-person inflatable life raft. He was able to retrieve some supplies from the sinking boat, such as a cushion, sleeping bag, an emergency kit, and inside the emergency kit there was water, a map, spear gun, flares, and a torch. He was left adrift to sea for 76 days until he eventually reached land in the Bahamas. Coming into number 1, for the top 10 people who survived the impossible, part 2, we have the Andes survivors. Back on Friday, October 13, 1972, an airplane was flying over the Andes carrying college students from Montevideo, Uruguay, who were scheduled to play a rugby match in Santiago, Chile. Well, as the plane was flying through the mountains, the pilot made a fatal error and he was given clearance to land too soon and he crashed into one of the peaks of the mountains. 12 people died instantly from the crash and the other survivors had to endure hunger, avalanches, and freezing temperatures at night. They attempted to survive off the food that was on the plane, but later they had resorted to eating the people who have died from the crash. This is cannibalism, but again, you have to do what you gotta do. 2 of the survivors decided to cross this huge mountains to reach Chile, and on December 22nd, 1972, after being isolated for 72 days, the world discovered that there were 16 survivors that beat death in the Andes Mountains, and they were rescued. What an incredible story. Well, there you guys have it. That was the top 10 people who survived the impossible. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys all in the next video. So let me know what you guys think of this video in the comment section below, and if you guys want more videos, because I know you guys do, just look right beside me. There's 2 previous videos. You guys can go over there and click on those. Maybe you'll find Rebecca or Danny over there. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe as well. We're almost at 1.3 million subscribers. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I'm gonna go make the next one, so I'll see you guys there.